Hi, welcome to another edition of the Alan Rosenberg Show. It is the last day of the month, and if you know my channel, that means it's time for a haul video that I call From Backlog to Catalog. Simply means that this is stuff that's been in my backlog. Some of it I've had in there for months, and some of it was fairly recently purchased. But it means that I listen to them enough that they graduate and officially become part of my database and get on my shelves. Now, I listened to so much music in the month of July, it was incredible. Lots of bootlegs that I recently showed on a regular haul video for bootlegs, so I'm not going to show them here. Those I listened to right away. I only need to listen to them once or twice and then file them away. So you could check out that video of my recent bootleg purchases because they are all in the database. Richard Thompson, a lot of Kinks ones, Boston, and Tom Petty, and some other ones. So I got some great bootlegs. I don't need to rehash those. I also have been buying a ton of 8-tracks. You're not going to see any in here. I think I'm going to do a separate video for 8-tracks because some people don't care about them and some people kind of dig them. So let me just do one video on 8-tracks because I have bought a ton. And yeah, I am regressing, but I'm having a lot of fun with them, I got to tell you. So I think I'll do a video just on those. So what I have here is I think about a dozen purchases that I've gotten over the last couple of months, some pretty recent, and these are official albums with one exception I'm going to talk about. And let's show you what graduated from the backlog to the catalog, and in no particular order. So this is one I got a long time ago. This is a band called Magenta. You probably never heard of them, but they're a progressive band. The lead singer is a female, kind of like Mostly Autumn. They are not, in my opinion, nearly as good as Mostly Autumn, but they're a fine band. Karnataka is another one who I think are better, but they're a good band. They had an album called Seven that was really good. This is a double live one called Another Place, Another Time, and it was a 2 CD set, and it's good. You know, if you don't know them, I don't think I'd run out to get them. I don't think they're at the same league, like I said, of Mostly Autumn, who I think are really great, especially the original Mostly Autumn, and Karnataka even. But this is a good release from Magenta. I don't know if you know them. Certainly here in the States, they got to be like unknown, I'm sure. Let's keep going. This is a recent purchase. Some people commented on it, so I wanted to bring it up because I bought this not that long ago. Neil Young and the Shocking Pinks, Everybody's Rockin'. And you know, I really enjoyed this. Is it a classic Neil Young album? No, but it's mighty fine, and I think if memory serves, it was like 30 minutes long, which was a lot of fun. A lot of pretty good tracks on here. It's nothing that's urgent. If you're a Neil Young fan, you don't have to run out and get it if you could find it. I don't seem to see this thing out in the wild too often. But you know what? In its own way, it was pretty fun. Some covers on here that really weren't totally necessary, but it was good. I liked it. This one goes back a while, and I really enjoyed this. Steve Hackett. It's called The Total Experience Live in Liverpool, Acolyte to Wolflight with Genesis Classics. And I'm a huge classic Genesis fan. You're going to see another one later on. This is 2 CDs and 2 DVDs, and Steve Hackett does a lot of these now, these Genesis revisited type things plus other stuff. The problem that I have, as much as I like Steve Hackett's solo, nothing for me compares to that classic Genesis stuff. I am a huge Genesis fan from Nursery Crime, especially through really Seconds Out is amongst my favorite of all time, and I was into Genesis in 1973, kind of ahead of my time on that. So, you know, when you see this, you know, the second half where he's doing the really classic stuff, some stuff from Foxtrot Selling England, you know, I Die and Go to Heaven, whereas his solo stuff is really good, but so that's the story on this. But you really get your money's worth. These are great values. There's a documentary, and it took me a long time to get through this because I watched it many times, and listened to it many times. It was really good. This was a recent purchase also. I've been getting more and more into jazz. I think one day I'm going to do a video of my unimpressive jazz collection. You know, I got like, I don't know, 5,500 something CDs, but I don't have a huge collection of jazz. But I'm growing, and I really enjoyed this one. Herbie Hancock jazz. This is part of the Ken Burns jazz thing, and you get a good selection of Herbie Hancock. I kind of enjoyed this because you get some of that really early, you know, more classic stuff, and then you get like Rocket. I remember that video was really fun. So yeah, I really enjoyed this Herbie Hancock CD. Let's keep going. This was a recent purchase also. In its own way, I bought it because it was 99 cents. Elvis, An Afternoon in the Garden. I know one or two viewers were like, hey, it's actually a good listen, and it is. There's Elvis, not exactly in his prime, but fascinating booklet. He really the what was his name, the Colonel. He really didn't help his career too much. He finally played the Garden, Madison Square Garden in New York, at this point later in his career. So, but certainly a lot of songs, and it's only on one CD, 24 songs. But it's kind of it's latter day Elvis. The songs are like a minute and a half, and you could hear him taking his scarf and throwing it to the women who were screaming. It's kitschy, is that the word? But enjoyable in its own way. Also, pretty recent purchase. I am a really big fan of Sheryl Crow. This one was a little bit weird. Live from the Ryman and More. And be honest with you, I'm a really big fan. And I didn't have this album because I didn't even know about this album. Somehow I missed it. But this is a 2 CD set live. For some reason, all of the titles say live. Well, it's a live album. But couple of guests on a couple of tracks. This for me is a strange listen. I love her, and I think she's the real deal and a real talent. For me, I can't stand live albums that fade in and fade out in between the songs. Listen, I'm not naive. I know a lot of live albums are redubbed and re-edited and from different locations. I don't really care. I know it's an album, but a live album should duplicate a concert, in my opinion. And the cardinal sin for me is fade ins, fade out. Don't do it. If you're putting out a live album, make it seem like one continuous concert. That's what you're supposed to do. And this album doesn't do that. They have fade ins and fade outs. And I know the whole thing's not recorded at the Ryman as other spots. So they're really good performances, but it's just not the kind of thing that I'm going to go back to all that often. So let me know your opinion on it. Do you feel the same way? A live album is supposed to feel like a concert, not fade in, fade out. This was a weird purchase that I had gotten. It's 2 CDs, and it was only 99 cents. And this is called You're in My Heart, Rod Stewart with the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. I have a bunch of Rod Stewart, and this particular purchase, even at 99 cents, is a great example of Rod Stewart could be so great, and he could be so god-awful. And it's on here. It's kind of a weird thing. I actually bought the album thinking it was a live concert with the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. And this is like an exclusive Target edition, so you get a lot more songs on it. But it's not that. Apparently, he re-recorded or overdubbed the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra on his classic performances, or in some cases redoing them. The first disc actually works pretty well. I was listening to my wife, and we really enjoyed that first disc. If it ended on the first disc, I'd be like, it's a successful album. The second disc, on the other hand, is a horror show. I could barely get through the second disc. So, a total mixed bag. I bought it for 99 cents. I would not pay more than 99 cents, and I don't know if I'll ever listen to this again. But, what the hell? When rock and roll mixes really well with an orchestra, number one, I guess, would be like Renaissance, if you have live at Carnegie Hall, and then there's another one they did in the UK. It's extraordinary. Emerson, Lake and Palmer, when they did that Works tour with an orchestra, they did that live record. And check out like C'est La Vie. If you don't get off on C'est La Vie with an orchestra, like I say, I die and go to heaven. It's extraordinary when it works well. So it doesn't totally work well there. I mentioned Genesis. Did you ever buy something and you didn't research it? It was a spontaneous purchase and it wasn't what you thought it was. Well, that's what this Genesis album is. So I'm a huge Genesis fan. I talked about that already. I have every Genesis album, but I didn't have this one. What I actually thought this was is called The Last Domino, and these are the tracks. So I bought it used. I had credit in the store. It really didn't cost me anything. And you open up the slipcase. It comes out in a slipcase and looks like this. And I opened it up in the store, and I'm like, oh, Well, this has got to be a live recording from that final tour with Phil Collins when he wasn't, you know, he was weak, he was sitting in a chair, and I'm like, well, all right, I'm going to get that for completion purposes because this is the last tour, the last Domino. It's not. It's a compilation album. Oh my God, all these are is the studio tracks. The last thing I needed was another Genesis compilation. I guess for completion purposes I needed it, but you know, it's just a weird compilation. I guess these were the songs maybe they were going to play on the tour. I thought it was the live album. They didn't release a live album, I guess. So it wasn't what I thought it was, and it's kind of unlike me. Usually I will at least research it, but it was spontaneous. My bad. Mistake. The Last Domino from Genesis. Not what I thought it was going to be. All right, let's keep going. This is one I kind of dug. I had this for a long time. This is the band War, and it's called Grooves and Messages, and this is the greatest hits of War, but it's a 2-disc version. The first disc I really enjoyed. You know, we all know like Low Rider, Cisco Kid, Spill the Wine, and of course, Why Can't We Be Friends? The other tracks I really enjoyed as well. You know, Eric Burdon was in the band for like 2 albums. The second disc is the remixes by famous DJs, I guess. Boy, that's a nightmare. I can't stand that kind of dub stuff. But it's worth it for the first disc, and I bought this used back in the day pretty cheap. So, yeah, this was a good little purchase, and glad to have some more in my collection. Let's skip and save those two for last. This was vinyl. I bought this a while ago. I have a couple of these. These are great. I find them at a record show sometimes. Superstar Concert Series. And this is from, obviously, a radio broadcast from Westward One. And this particular one was REO Speedwagon. Yeah, REO Speedwagon could be great. Or they could be not so great. But this was a good one from 1985. And there's the set list. And so this is a 3 vinyl box set. I have an Allman Brothers one like this. I got a couple of these. And they're fun listens. They got the commercials in between. They're recorded spectacularly, obviously. And they make a really good live record, except when they have the commercials in between. But that's all right. It's kind of fun. So REO Speedwagon, Superstar Concert Series. And considering REO Speedwagon, as far as live albums go, their only classic live record is that You Get What You Play For, which was my first REO Speedwagon album before they broke big. I was right on the cusp of them before they broke big with Tuna Fish. You can tune a piano, you can tune a fish. So nice to have that. Let's keep going. Speaking of live records, I know one of the viewers wanted to know about this, so this is for you. This is Asia, and a live record called Resonance, and this is from the Omega Tour, or as John Wetton says throughout the video, Omega. What's Omega? I thought it's Omega. I don't know. Anyway, live in Basel, Switzerland, May 4th of 2010. It's the original band, Jeff Downes and Steve Howe, Carl Palmer, and John Wetton, of course. And really nice package. That's the inner sleeve with photographs. And you get 2 CDs and the DVD, the whole concert. And I kind of appreciated this because there's a bunch of Asia Live records. This was a really good one, I thought. Fantasia Live in Tokyo, and this was when they reunited, and this was the reunited tour. This is really good. Then there's a lot of other Asia Live records. A lot of these like pseudo, they're not bootlegs, they release them, but lower quality and not the original band. This has Pat Thrall in there instead of Steve Howe. But they're all, you know, a lot of times it's the same kind of set list, and this was one, Asia Live, the Russia one, also got Pat Thrall. So there's a bunch, but you're typically going to see like a lot of the same set list. This one is different because, like any real band, when the band reunited and they did Phoenix and they did Omega, or as Wetton says, Omega, well, you know, these are decent records. They're not amazing, but they're decent records. This live album's kind of cool because let's look at the set list. And what you have is you have a lot of stuff. You can compare it from Omega. So they're out there playing the new material as a band should do, in my opinion. So, and some of these songs are really good. I mean, Finger on the Trigger's okay. Through My Veins is good. Holy War's on here. End of the World's good. I Believe was good. Are they as good as the classics from the first two albums? No. But they're fine, and that's what you want. If you're going to release a live record from new tours, let's put new stuff on, not the same old classics. Know who I'm talking to. And then you get a live version of An Extraordinary Life, which is an incredible song. The name of the box set up there from Wetton that you can't see. And that actually came from the Phoenix album. So, Never Games is on here too. So, if you're really into latter-day Asia, which you're probably not, because it's not the greatest stuff in the world, but it's good to have, and I appreciate them being an active band at that time. So Resonance from Asia. Thoroughly enjoyable. And that's all of them from Backlog to Catalog. I'm going to mention one other thing as an aside. I want to thank my viewers for watching my channel and your loyalty, and most of all, your kindness. The internet is just a rough place, and a lot of people who have channels, they take a beating. We put our opinion out there, and people could be really nasty. I've been really, really lucky. Everybody is so nice. I don't claim that my opinion is better than anybody else's. I just think, I'm doing this, listening and studying music for 50 years, really, and I have quite the collection. And the point of my channel is always showing you physical stuff, not just me blathering. And that, I think, makes it a little bit different. All these channels just show pictures. I don't know what they really have. But all about me is the physical media. With that said, when I did my Stones review of Hackney Diamonds tour from MetLife, and I complained about the sound system being god-awful, one of the viewers actually sent me a digital file of the same concert. He was there, but he said he had a much better seat and much better sound. And he sent me a digital file, which, how cool is that, right? And I actually was able to get that thing burned, and then downloaded some artwork and made a CD. So it's not really an official CD, but this is the concert I went to. And I've listened to it, and I am so grateful that you sent it to me. With that said, it is definitely better quality than what I heard, but it brought me right back because, obviously he recorded it just like on his phone, or I think he said some kind of digital audio device. It's still not really good quality. It sounds like a rough bootleg. And the songs that I remembered were god-awful are still really muddy on here. So much bass and so much bass drum, and that's what I remembered. So it kind of brought me back thinking, like, the sound system for the Stones tour really was shitty. It really was, except if you were right in the front, obviously, but if you had a really good position, I'm sure the sound was crystal clear, amazing. But most people don't have that. And we're not in the Middle Ages anymore, man. They've been doing stadium concerts, bands have been doing stadium concerts for 50 years. You could have a really good system. And I've seen stadium concerts that sounded really good. So I just want to mention, I'm wearing a Las Vegas hat. Why am I wearing a Las Vegas hat? Because I've been to Vegas a couple times. And I'll tell you, not necessarily the best Stones concert, but certainly, and maybe it was, but certainly the most fun I ever had at a Stones concert was when I saw them at the MGM on the No Security tour in Vegas. And also, a year or two ago, whenever the hell it was, I saw U2 at the Sphere. And that might be the greatest concert I ever saw. The effects and everything were beyond belief. I did a video on it. But the sound system there it's indescribable. Every single note of every instrument is crystal clear. It's loud, but it's not that loud. And the speakers are like in your seat. It's just surround and on you. It's incredible. So it made me think, I maybe would like to see the Stones play at the Sphere. Maybe sometime they'll do that. The only thing about the Sphere is you got to be good to play at the Sphere. Now, the Stones tour Hackney Diamonds, from what I can tell from watching the videos, I think the band was really, really tight. And obviously Jagger was amazing. So, they could probably pull it off. Because if you're not tight and you're not together, you are going to be so god-awful at the sphere. There is no hiding there. But I think the Stones can pull it off. So that's why I'm wearing this Vegas hat. You know, maybe the Stones will come back at some point and play the sphere. I am all for it. And if you guys do it, I'm going to spend the money and go. Because it's the greatest thing in the world, I'm telling you. Anyway, that's my backlog to catalog video. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what your thoughts are. And I think I'm going to do an 8-track one for you people that might be interested. And as always, thank you so much for your support. I'm asking for subscribers. I'm doing this 4 years, and my channel's growing, but a little bit. So it would be nice if you like my channel and you haven't subscribed, hit subscribe. Plus, it helps you, right? You get notified when I do all these new videos. That's about it. Stay safe, stay healthy. I'll see you next time on the Alan Rosenberg Show.